and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here and to be part of the launch of this important report under your leadership team. I'm really happy to be part of this launch for three specific reasons. First, because I had the privilege to be part of one brainstorming session conducted with many experts from the Americas region. Second, because at Cetic, we were able to contribute with the translation of the executive summary report into Portuguese and Spanish. And as a UNESCO Category 2 Center for Latin America and Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa, CETIC has a long tradition of cooperating with countries in these two regions. And this report launched today will really be instrumental for policymakers and other key stakeholders of the educational systems in these regions. And third, maybe another reason why I'm so pleased to be here today, and to me the most important one, is because the content of the report provides team concrete recommendations to governments in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, highlighting the role of digital technologies as a strategic component to deliver better quality and more resilient education. So with that team, I congratulate you and now the team involved in the preparation of this publication and for being such an active leader during this COVID-19 crisis. And I'd like to mention that the methodological approach you used to build the discussion with experts that you mentioned around the globe is really remarkable. Besides the way you wisely structured the report in three acts, as many of my colleagues has mentioned already. It is really innovative and makes its reading very enjoyable. In Act 3, for instance, the well-written guidance notes really provides relevant insights, in particular when you begin by addressing the need of understanding the local context in the adoption of digital technologies for developing local content, educational content. And we've seen, and I'm sure most of you have seen, many policies briefings and policy frameworks and recommendations that sometimes ignore the importance of the local context. So just to contextualize my brief intervention, I start by saying that digital transformation is taking place everywhere and in all segments of society, and education is not an exception. And the COVID-19 pandemic, in a way, has accelerated this transformation process, in particular in education, because it has forced us to look at digital. In case of the Latin American, I would say that despite having the highest level of inequality, some countries in the region are seeking to implement policies to promote the adoption of digital technologies in education, but definitely the digital transformation in the education is not happening the same way in countries in the region. So if you take countries like Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, or Argentina with large population, the digital inequalities in these countries reflect the existing socioeconomic disparities. So the real issue here is how to design evidence-based policy capable of effectively developing better quality, equitable, and resilient education. So in this regard, this report will be of strategic relevance for policymakers. In Brazil, for instance, we have 4.8 million children and adolescents living in homes without internet access. And the school closure uh, uh, that we have seen everywhere, we may ask ourselves, where are the rights of these children to have access to quality and equitable education if they don't have access to digital devices and the internet? I think that it is very unlikely that educational systems will continue to be the same after the pandemic. So the dynamics of the process and the mindset of teachers and students will not be the same. That's why that in all the guidance notes in Act 3 in the report, are so important. From the local context to the open educational resource, to inclusion of people with disability, marginalized communities, to ensure a resilient connectivity and prioritizing effective and appropriate teachers training, among many other recommendations. I have a particular concern when it comes to the role of connectivity in the context that we are discussing here today. It is obvious that internet broadband connectivity has become essential to deliver educational content. But we also know that for most developing countries in the global south, the unconnected homes still represent a significant proportion of marginalized communities, rural areas, and low income and vulnerable households. Here we are talking about the connectivity at the household level and not at the school level. The connectivity at school level was a pre-existing problem for many schools in the global south before the pandemic. And I think that what Alex has mentioned of the relevance of the GIGA project, it will be really very important contribution. So in the impact of the digitally excluded students is just enormous. And in my opinion, the coronavirus has revealed how fragile our educational systems in the context of the socioeconomic disparities in our countries is. So we need to close these gaps. And just to conclude, I think that the report offers a holistic view for policymakers to craft policies committed to using digital technologies to create a resilient education system that provides education and learning for all. And this holistic view includes the need of looking at the importance of focusing on values and principles of equity rather than exacerbating the technology by technology itself. So, Professor Tim, I would like to say that the work at Cetic on the production of policy relevant data in the field of education is very complementary to this report, and that's why I'm very glad to be here. And what I could learn from this initiative with you and your team is that there is an urgent need for greater international collaboration and less reinvention of the wheel. So with that, thank you so much, Professor Tim, and congratulations for the launch of this report. Thank you very much.